So have you ever hit rock bottom? And what is rock bottom in and of itself? Well, today we're going to talk about how you can not only realize where your rock bottom is, but what to do to make you have the best comeback story ever. Now, having hit rock bottom a couple times, one specific time that I remember, in realizing that I had actually, through that moment, let my family down because I hadn't taken the actions that I needed to take. It was that thing that didn't shame or guilt myself into taking action, but it helped me find a different reason why I needed to succeed. And when I wanted to do that and decided to do that, actually, it brought so many different ideas and strategies that I would have never thought of if I hadn't hit rock bottom in the first place. And that's what we want to do for you today. We want to walk you through the path of how to decide when rock bottom is and what to do to make you have the best comeback story ever. And if you're ready to do that with us, let's go.
It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
So welcome back to Modern Leadership, where we help you build a business and career you love, connect deeper with your family, and make sure your physical and mental health are on point. Not only that, but help you get and stay in the best shape of your life. And here's how we do that. So welcome back to the channel. Whether you're brand new, whether you're part of the inner circle, we want to welcome you to dive into this really important topic, which is hitting rock bottom. So you want to start us off?
Yes, let's go. All right. So the first question is, what does rock bottom or hitting rock bottom even mean? And how do you know when you're there?
Yeah. So when I think about the story of me hitting rock bottom, it is when I was giving everything to my career, being an LAPD sergeant, spending all my waking time and energy thinking that's what I had to do. And how I showed love for my family was working harder and working longer and more overtime and all the things that took me away from them. Now, on top of that, I was not taking care of my physical or mental health. I was about 100 pounds overweight, and it was not a pretty sight. And it wasn't until my son, Andrew, was born, when he was 1 pound, 9 ounces. He had to spend 73 days in the NICU. And when your first kid is born and they tell you, you can go home, we need to keep him here, that's where I decided that was my rock bottom. Now, here's the truth about rock bottom. Rock bottom is merely a thought. It's a decision that you can make at any point where you decide, I'm never going to be here again. The truth is you can decide that was 6 months ago, but you can also decide that could be 3 years from now. The truth is you get to decide. And once you make that decision, I got to tell you, it's so freeing that all of the other excuses melt by the wayside. If you don't make that decision, or you think that you've made a decision, you'll notice that those same things will still keep coming up. That's why we put together today's training, because we want you to become aware of when you officially make that decision, when your mindset is into this is never going to happen again, that you can fully lean into it and create some incredible results. So that's what rock bottom is. It's a thought that you have, and you get to decide any moment where your rock bottom is. Now, I want to actually talk about a little bit about this whole process of rock bottom, not in the let's turn it around and do our comeback story yet, but in the thoughts that we have about hitting rock bottom, because once our mindset's on point, then all the tactics can work. So I want to hit on this, like, why do we often feel stuck or helpless when we're at rock bottom?
Yeah, and I'm glad we started off with what rock bottom really is, because the fact that it's a thought and not necessarily like a moment in time, it's really just the thought that you have of what is happening in your life and whether or not you're choosing to stay there. And sometimes we do feel like we're stuck because we feel like this is just like a period of time that just sucks. And it does feel helpless. And a lot of times it's because we're just adding on other thoughts and other feelings onto that rock bottom. So we feel shame, we feel guilt, and it's just this vicious cycle that we're going through. And that's why we feel stuck, is because we feel like we're literally going in circles and staying in the same spot. But there's another place. And that's where you lean into your rock bottom and let it change you forever. So, this is where you draw the line in the sand and say, like Mark said, I'm not going to stay here. I am not going to find myself here again. And I'm going to do something different. But it does take time. It does take the realization that you have hit rock bottom and that you've decided not to go back. So, did you know that you have a choice, right? You have a choice to make. Just like Mark said, it's a thought. You can actually change your thoughts. That is something that you can control. You can't control the outside circumstances, but you can definitely control how you perceive them.
Yep. I love it. I love it because you can have at the same time the moment of where you're like, I've never been able to do this in the past. I've had all these things that are kind of like holding me back, and be focused on the problems. Or you can be focused on the solutions, how this is something that's going to propel you forward so that you never have to experience it again. And the thing you put more time and energy into is the thing that you will actually manifest. So you want to jump into the next question?
Yes. So this question is, how can someone shift their mindset from feeling defeated to feeling hopeful?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a couple different ways here. The first way being that your past does not dictate your future. So this was a big thing that I learned, and it was actually through like the interview process. When you're like going through an oral interview trying to get a promotion, is a lot of times what they'll do is they'll ask you for, give me an example of a time when you did this in the past. And the reason why is because most of us humans are wired to believe that because we've done it in the past, that we're going to do that in the future. But the truth is that because we have like the ability of making a choice, a different decision, everything that we've done in our past can change with one decision. And we can do something else entirely different. We can become somebody else entirely different in the process right now. I mean, isn't that so powerful to think about, that your past doesn't have to dictate your future? And when you understand that that's the truth, then you can lean into that and you can change it, because you don't have to continue along that path. You can create a brand new path, one that you'll actually be able to take so many more people through with you too. Now, one of the things that I do want to talk about is reminding yourself like, hey, I don't have to go into the past to actually dictate my future. That's an important part of the puzzle. But I also want to let you know that your past has led you up to this point right now because it's trying to teach you something. So for me, that process was trying to teach me to take care of my physical mental health, or I won't be able to take care of my family when they need me the most. It tried to teach me that it wasn't just about how much work or how much money that I brought home that determined the value that I gave to my family. It was my time and my energy and whether I could spend that in a place that I really wanted to spend it in. And I wasn't learning that lesson. It came up time and time and time and time again. You don't just get to 100 pounds and just overnight and everything is like, only one big thing has happened. It's multiple times. Like I went to the doctor. They told me my blood pressure was too high. I did this and did this. I couldn't get over the walls in a lot of the academy. There's so many different things and I was ignoring it. And I wasn't leaning into what is this actually trying to teach me? So when you lean into the mindset of your past does not dictate your future, and everything that's happened has given me the opportunity to actually find out where it is that I need to grow the most, because that's why I'm at this place. I've been ignoring it and I haven't been leaning in. But when you hit that rock bottom, when you feel that pain, sometimes we have to feel the pain ourselves, right? Sometimes we can learn from other people's rock bottom, which is, if you can, I would highly suggest you do that. But you lean into the pain and you realize, I'm never going to be here again. And you tap into these two versions of mindset, and you will get yourself to show up and take all the action that you need to take to find out the right activities. Now, this leads me to another question. That is like, how do you start, or how do you think tapping into your why? This is something that for me, it was Andrew, it was for the kids, for you, right? Is like when you figure out what that why is, the how is kind of irrelevant. That's what I like to think about it. But how do you think tapping into your why can help you avoid ever being in that spot of rock bottom again?
It's about remembering who you're fighting for, what you're fighting for, because oftentimes when we're in the thick of it, it just feels like everything is going wrong. We're, in that vicious cycle, right? But if we remember who we're fighting for, like in our case, our son, it's something that is really powerful, and it may not change things overnight, right? Because like you said, like we don't know the how, we don't know how to get out of that vicious cycle, but we do know that we're going to try. We're going to give it our all, because when you're truly fighting for something much bigger than you, you can, push through any like adversity or obstacles that you can. So it's really important to focus on your why, because that's a reminder of what can happen and what is possible if you're the person that can see where you're at and choose a different path.
Yeah. And the truth is we all have our whys. You have your why in terms of why you're even here today, why you're watching this video, why you're creating a business, why you're leaning into your career, why you want to be a leader like you are. There's so many different times where we just don't slow down to actually revisit our why. And when you really do slow down to think about who needs me on my A game, who am I fighting for today? What problem am I going to help solve, not only for other people, but for myself and for my family forever? It really changes the game forever. And you become the one who changes your lineage forever. Now, I want to ask, how? I don't ask. I want to say this. So I'm curious, like, how many of you would like to actually hear some of the activities that it takes to be able to get past rock bottom now that you framed it in this really powerful frame of mind? So what are the actionable steps that you can take to make this your comeback story? That's what we're going to dive into next. Because once we attack this from the mindset level, reminding ourselves of what we're fighting for, then we probably want to know what are some of the steps that it takes to actually be able to do this. Now, I kind of shared a little earlier about my rock bottom of giving it all to my career. And I was really struggling for a long time with my physical and mental health. But once I understood the mindset behind who I was fighting for, which was my son, my family, myself, I realized that when I showed up and took action myself and poured into me, it actually allowed me to pour into so many other people, including my work and my career. But there were some actionable steps that I took that made that possible. And we want to dive into that today. Now, before we begin, I do want to talk about this a little bit logically. And here's what I mean. There's a reason why we're currently at where we're at, right? And when you think about this is trying to teach you that lesson on what is this thing trying to teach me so I can try to do something new that I've never done before. When you hit rock bottom, your brain might go into, oh, well, this is the thing that I should do. And it's very similar to what you've done in the past and you've tried it. And maybe you were excited about it, but you know that it didn't work. If it didn't work, we have to ask ourselves, how do we try something new that's completely different than the thing that I tried last time? So I like to break this down into 3 steps, okay? These are 3 steps when it comes to the action that you can take to really start coming back and creating that comeback story, all right? Step one is always ask for help. Meaning there's people who have come before you. There's people who have succeeded in an area that you want to succeed. There's people who have developed resilience, have felt the pain, have hit the rock bottom. And anytime you can, you want to ask them for advice, for direction, and just be around supportive people. Now, this doesn't just mean everyone, because there's some people who will literally just say, oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. Just you're perfect just the way you are. And we all have those support people in our lives, but they really don't push us to actually go out and to change our lives. So I'd highly encourage you to find someone, a mentor, a team, a person, somebody that's going to help push you a little bit, but also who's maybe a few steps ahead of you and has been able to do things and succeed in an area that you want to succeed in. So how do you think actually finding someone will actually help you when it comes to getting you to take action? So I want to throw that to you. So how do you think seeking friends, family, people that actually are going to push you a little bit, how do you think that's going to help get through that struggle of rock bottom?
Yeah, I mean, we all have someone in our lives that is kind of like a safe person that we can lean into that can help us through some of these things. You don't have to do this alone. That's one of the main things I think of this message is that when we hit rock bottom, we feel like we're all in this by ourselves. And that's not the case. There's always someone who is willing to help and who is happy to help. So think about that person. Think about who's been there for you before, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all have those friends or family members or someone that has been there for us. And you can seek their support. And even if there may not be anybody in your life, there are tons of other support resources that are out there. You just have to look for them.
Yep. I love that. I love it. I love it. And some people may ask, at what point do I know that I actually need some help? And I'm just going to cut to the chase here. And that is like, if you're asking already, the answer is already. You already should ask for help. This is one of those things where if you're thinking about asking for help, it's actually like way past beyond when you should have. Because like, even when that first time that struggle comes up, that first time that thing comes up, right? If I had asked for help then, I would have never had to go through all of the things. And unfortunately, Andrew would have never had to go through all those things. You wouldn't have had to go through all those things if I had been willing to ask for help. I remember this really powerful quote by Les Brown. He says, ask for help, not because you are weak, but because you want to remain strong. So when you ask for help, not only does it help you because you get the help that you need, but remember how the other person feels when they're able to push you, they're able to help become a part of your story and get you to show up just like that true potential that you have. It's a gift that you get to give them, but you also get to give yourself.
And that's a great quote, because it even, talks about like how you shouldn't even wait for that rock bottom to hit, right? Because when you know that you're like, okay, like this is getting crazy, like I need to ask for help. That's when you ask for help. It's not like after the fact.
Yeah. And some of you guys may have already hit rock bottom. I mean, I did too. And you haven't asked for help. This is not to shame or guilt you or to beat you up around that. It's so that the next time that it happens, you jump in and you ask for help, and you don't have to wait until it gets to this point. I kind of shared with you, like I hit rock bottom several times, including this one time with my son, Andrew. And like, that was an important part because it got me to realize that I need to ask for help earlier. And that's why I use this as a way, not only of helping solve that initial problem, but being able to not have any problems like that in the future because I'm able to ask for help before I need it. So that's always step one when it comes to getting out of rock bottom. Ask for help. Don't try and do this alone. Step number two is thinking about things on the short term. All right. Now, what initially happened to me the first couple times that I was hit rock bottom, which didn't change my life, is I started to think about, I'm going to change everything that I've ever done. I'm going to think about 5 years from now, I'm going to be this really great ripped person who's like really fast and able to catch suspects and doing all these kind of things. And that lasted for about 3 days. And then I would get back into what, like, I can't change the way that I eat, change the way that I exercise, change the time that I spend with family, and do all of these things at once. And so I try to bite off more than I can chew. And so what I highly encourage you to do is what I did in the beginning, which is just take big baby steps. Ask myself in the short term, what's the smallest action that I can take that will help me start leading the path towards where I want to be? I like to vision. I like to think about where I want to go, but I also like to reverse engineer it into the small habits. And so for me, it was like exercising. Like I didn't necessarily change anything with my food. I just wanted to take baby steps to know that I could actually put a checkbox in the mark of I'm doing the things that I'm saying that I'm doing. Here's the thing. You build up so much confidence when you just say, I'm going to do this every single day. And it's a small thing. And you start doing it and you realize I can do this. As opposed to, let me change the way that I'm eating, change the way that I'm like thinking. Everything at once, change the way that I'm thinking, change the person that I am, change, and it's like, that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it happens for a couple of days, maybe a week, and then you go back to your normal behavior. And so step two is always thinking about what are the short-term things that I can do? What are the small actions, the small wins that I can do to start building up my momentum? And then step three is once you start making that progress slowly over time, you start thinking about where do I want to be, 3-5 years from now? What if I stay on this path, what is it going to allow me to make possible that also is going to be something I can inspire other people with too? And then we start thinking about like, what are some of the additional things that I want? What are some of the additional things that I want to implement? And it's not a one time all at once. It's a little baby step, a little bit at a time. And every week, every month, you keep elevating this plan and you get to be the type of person who just takes these actions. And you don't have to worry about changing everything in your life. You have. It's just you did it incrementally. So those are the 3 steps that I highly encourage you to when you're thinking about how do I literally get out of rock bottom. Now, of course, we want to talk about make sure your mindset's on point. And then once that's the case, ask for help. Then figure out what your short-term goals and actions are. And then once you start building up, then you can get into more longer-term actions. Now, here's the thing. I do want to ask you a question related to maybe some tools and resources that you might have found have been helpful for overcome difficult times. But here's the thing about this. I'm going to ask Teresa about some of the things that she uses, but we're all different. We all have different ways that we use, whether it's resources or podcasts or books or whatever that thing is to help us. I don't want you to think that this is just a one size fit all from here. It's really about maybe what are some of the things in the past that have helped you the most get you unstuck or get you more clear? But I want to pass it to you. What are some things that you found?
Yeah, one of the biggest things for me has been personal development, like books and just different resources that way. Because learning new skills really gets me fired up to build off of like who it is that I want to be.
Mhm.
And if I feel like I'm stuck, if I feel like I've hit rock bottom, there's always these great books and just people out there who have gone through it and who have the path, like they can show you kind of the path that you can take. And a lot of times it's an actual person.
Mhm.
So it's a mentor, it's someone who has hit rock bottom or who has gone through those tough challenges and obstacles that can give you some tips. And of
Mhm.
course, whatever they did may not apply to you. However, they can show you some of like the philosophies that they leaned into, or some of the things that they did that you may be able to do in your own way. So I think those are the biggest ones for me.
Yeah, I really love that. I also think like the whole personal development, personal growth, right? Whenever I'm growing, I feel like I'm more excited, I'm more motivated, I'm taking more action. And really what it is I'm becoming someone different.
Yeah.
Right. We always think about like we have the be, do, have process kind of like reversed. We think once we have the time, then we'll be able to do those actions. And when we do those actions of exercising, then we're going to become somebody different in the process. And what I found with personal growth is completely backwards.
Yeah.
You actually become somebody different. When you become somebody different, you start taking those actions by default because that's what you normally do. And then once you do those activities, then you get to have all those things that you want.
Yeah.
That's how I lost 100 pounds. Right? People always wanted to ask me, Mark, how did you lose 100 pounds? And they always want to get into like what are some of the actions that I took? But one of the things they never ask me is who the person was that I had to become. That's who the real person is that was able to lose 100 pounds because I became somebody else different in the process. And when you're able to do this, when you're able to tap into your rock bottom and use it to propel you forward and to take massive action, you too, my friend, will become somebody else different in the process. But it takes time. It takes patience. This is not an overnight success, but I know that because you want to actually make a huge impact in the world, because you want to show up the way that you want to, you're good for it because this is what you do. And this is what leaders do. They don't become leaders in the hard time and the easy times. They become leaders in the hard times. Now, you know you're willing to do that. And I appreciate you so much for doing that. So thank you for leading from the front. Go out there, crush your rock bottom. And I'd love to hear below what you were able to do, not only as a result of this video, but also the things that you've personally been through, because I know that you have a lot to share and we'd love to all hear it too. So you guys have an incredible day and we'll see you real soon.